Here's a question. If you're going to toss the ball to somebody and you're down 2 points and need to, who's your best cabinet member? Who's going to get it? The one who reads the room before anybody else does. The one who asks questions that changes kind of the whole meeting dynamic. The one who sees that institutional problem that you've been walking past maybe for 3 years and names it in 11 words, concise, with an operational plan to say, here's what we're going to do to fix it. And suddenly everyone's nodding, right? Who is that person? I'm sure they come quickly to mind. I hope they do. The one your institution could not literally function without. One, if that person came so quickly to mind, please, today, go stand in their door frame and tell them how much you appreciate them. If they're not there, write them a little card, if that's maybe their affection language, right? Just tell them. Let's encourage that person. But here's the thing, AI just offered to replace that person, what they do, for $20 a month. Yeah, you're gonna want to throw me out of here for just that comment, right? But think about it, it's not their title, it's not their years, not their relationships, it's the thinking, it's the synthesis, it's just that original perception, the part that you actually pay for, and the part most of us have accidentally been scheduling out of existence long before AI showed up to finish the job. I want to give you permission to just feel that for a moment. Your best person eviscerated by AI. Now what? Because every superintendent, every president that I work with has a version of that same quiet dread. And sometimes it's like looking in the mirror going, what if it's me? The suspicion that the frontier is moving way more fast than they are. And here's what I want you to know before I say anything else. You're not behind. And you're not obsolete. We're not going there. But you may be accidentally building a cabinet that kind of is. And just not quite know it yet. So here's what's actually happening on your campus right now. Maybe not right now because things have quieted down. But generally speaking, your junior leaders, not your senior leaders, your junior ones, are outsourcing their cognitive work to AI. Not out of laziness, and it's probably not a policy violation, out of rationality. The AI produces better outputs than they can do that right now. So asking them not to use it would be asking them not to punch a calculator to get the correct facts. The outputs are better. They're faster, they're cleaner, and they get better by the day. What's invisible in those better outputs, right? The people producing them, they're not getting better. And that's the risk here, folks. That's where we just need to be careful. Here's the data that should maybe stop you cold. And this was really good information that we used in our last roundtable. NASA ran a study on creative genius, just that capacity for original thought, for making unexpected connections, for generating what just doesn't yet exist. In adults, under 2% qualified for that standard. In children aged 3 to 5, ready? 98% qualify. Same criteria. Inverted results, folks. The researchers' conclusion wasn't that creativity is rare. It's just the process of becoming a credentialed, institutionally experienced adult is, if we're being precise, a remarkably efficient system for extracting the creative capacity people were born with. That's what the system is doing right now. And now AI showed up and offered to do the responsive work for less than $1 a day. When you think about it, which means the only competitive moat that your institution has left to continue to score, right? The thing that cannot be commoditized or prompted is the original human judgment. that your cabinet stopped protecting, probably somewhere in between the 3rd strategic plan and the 7th board retreat over the last couple of years. So here's what almost nobody in leadership is building deliberately right now. We're kind of accidentally building a lot of things, but the only 3 dimensions that remain as genuine competitive edge in a world where AI has commoditized everything else. The first is just the originality window. Here's the thing, the brain's capacity for genuine original thought runs on a specific neurological fuel. And for most people, there's a 3 to 4 hour window when it's accessible to you, right? And for most people, it's typically in the morning, right? After that first cup and a half of coffee, where their neurological conditions for original creativity are actually just present. Not the energy to execute familiar tasks, the actual substrate for generating what hasn't been generated yet, innovation, okay? How we're going to move these systems systemically into the next frontier. Most leaders have, without deciding to do so, donated this window entirely to their institution with that 6 a.m. meeting, backed up by the 7 a.m. meeting, followed up by the 8 a.m. meeting. The quality of your thinking in those first 3 hours determines the quality of every decision in the remaining 5. So caution tape, folks. The second is the default mode network. It's when you're not trying to think, when you're in the car, on a walk, working out, in that space between inputs, a specific set of brain structures, it just activates. The neuroscience calls in the default mode network in those situations. It's the system that generates your best ideas, those unexpected connections. Has that ever happened to you? When I'm out running, I used to just listen to podcasts all the time, but I've gotten better at having nothing. And I have to actually just immediately when I get home, there's so many ideas that have been cooked up that I must write them down. The original thought that happens in that space, right? The institutional insight that arrives in those margins are to be captured, to stay differentiated from the rest of the noise and the pack out there. That network is being systematically dismantled. Every podcast that you put in your ear, every scroll, every just ambient stream of just filling the commute. Nothing against sports and weather, but maybe you can do that differently. And also, that's not rest. That's replacement of your highest value cognitive mode with input that just shuts it down. And that's average. That's what normal people do, right? If you want superior results, you've got to do this differently, folks. And the third is institutional identity. When technology makes everyone generically excellent, right? Differentiation just disappears. Every district has a polished strategic plan. Every campus has your objective pillars, right? Every cabinet produces clean board reports, and none of it is specifically theirs. So here's the diagnostic. If your institution's strategic documents were stripped of their logos, take them off. Could any community member identify which campus, which district produced them? If the honest answer is no, you have an identity problem, just wearing the name of an AI problem. Oh, I could tell you a few stories that have happened recently, but I just want to just unpack this and bring it into a practical landing, right? The stakes are high right now. You know that. And I think that's going into, my goodness, this new academic year is one to be remembered with a maturity lens. The maturity shift is what I really want to leave you with. The immature leaders, and you can find them all over the place, they think that AI is just going to make their cabinet more efficient. And that's true. But the mature leaders are going to think AI is going to make my cabinet more efficient. And I'm responsible for ensuring that efficiency does not hollow out the judgment that makes us worth leading. right? The immature leaders are going to say that my job is to be responsive and available. But mature leaders are going to think my job is to protect the conditions where original thought happens intentionally for myself and structurally for my team. And that's a whole different ballgame, folks. And sometimes that's shutting the door. Sometimes that's doing things differently, right? Immature leaders are going to think AI is a talent equalizer. Everyone is producing much better work now, right? But the mature leader is going to think AI is the talent differentiator, which means the only edge left is the judgment to evaluate it, the voice to make it specific, and the collective identity that makes it unmistakably yours. So this is not my opinion. This is fact. The institutions that multiply in the next decade are not the ones that adopted AI the most swiftly. Right? They're the ones that understood what AI cannot replace: judgment, voice, identity, and the irreducible human specificity of a cabinet developed together and built those things deliberately while everyone else was chasing efficiency, right? Hey, builders. That's what I'm going to call you, because you're not a climber, you're not a dreamer. You are a builders, and builders don't wait for the technology to tell them what's irreplaceable. They build what the technology can't replicate before the window closes. So here's your move this week. One question, 5 minutes. Look at the last 3 months of your cabinet work and ask yourselves honestly, which outputs represent original thinking from your people, and which represent that AI-generated material that was reviewed and approved, right? If that ratio has shifted towards review and approve in the last 6 months, just name it in your next cabinet meeting. Not as a technology policy conversation, please, but just an honest observation, right? As a talent development conversation. So there's 2 paths that I would just invite you to go deeper. One is the Team Institute. It's a 10-month sequential development journey for your full leadership cabinet, where we build the collective architecture, the shared language, the protected original conditions, the identity that makes your cabinet thinking unmistakably yours, because you build the culture that either attracts average talent, or you have an irresistible culture that keeps your best people and attracts more of the same. We're seeing 3 times improvement. We're seeing 29% higher engagement. We're seeing 27% better outcomes and 0 burnout increase of your usual suspects. You can visit higherperformancegroup.com, click down to Team Institute to learn more, or message me directly. We can have a virtual coffee together. We walk through what's actually happening in your cabinet, which might be those 3 dimensions we just talked about, unpacking some of them to ask which one's the constraint right now. No pitch, no form, just a conversation between 2 leaders who are done accepting that efficiency ceiling, as the performance ceiling. So comment below with one word: window, network, or identity. Which dimension does your cabinet need to protect most right now? Your window, your network, or your identity? Your honesty gives other leaders this permission, if you will, kind of to face theirs, because we're all dealing with it. Build like a champion today, folks. Let's build different. I'm Dr. Joe, and I'll see you